Okay, so this is part 3 on how to use Facebook Instagram ads to get more signups to your webinar. I'm going to cover creating the campaign targeting budget ads and also the email funnel up. So just a warning ahead of time, when it comes to setting up your campaign or your ad account structure, it's kind of like politics. Everyone's got an opinion and they kind of all stink, so just keep that in mind when I go through this. The most basic campaign structure I would say is like plain vanilla. Which is you use campaign with campaign budget optimization. You have one or more ad sets with one or more ads in each. Nothing special, no dynamic creatives, anything like that. So just keep it to the basics. So let's go through an example here. I jump into my account and I go to leads because you can see I have the conversions objective there. I'm going to skip the tailored leads campaign setup. Okay. So usually when it comes to naming campaign, I give it a name that has the product and the setup information inside the name. So I might do something like leads, conversions, webinar, topic as an example. And that way, when I look through my campaign list and you have a lot of campaigns, you can really quickly see what type of campaign it is and what for what business line that campaign is in. The next one is turning on this campaign budget. I'm going to put $20 here. I use a rule of thumb. If you're dealing with really small budgets, my rule of thumb is have around $10 a day minimum for how many ads you're going to do. I'm going to forget this A/B test, special ad categories. Don't need to do those. Okay, so for the ad set names, if you're going to target lots of different types of targets, I would put that in the name. So for example, if you're going to target men in one ad set and then women in another, then I would do that. But if you're going to target the same type of audience every single time, then I actually name the ad sets based around the messaging that I'm using in those ads. So I might put, for example, if you're using, for a gym, if you're using Get Shredded as one messaging, you might name your first ad set and all the ads in there that are about getting shredded as the Get Shredded ad set. And then you might name another ad set that's about, I don't know, build muscle and make sure all the ads in there are directly about building muscle. But let's, again, keep it simple to the most simple ad structure, which is based around targeting different types of people in each ad set. So let's just call this US for the US audience. Let's put 18 to 18 plus, basically, and then all languages. That way, when you put this in the name, this is only one way to do the names, but when you do that, it helps you just keep track of what type of person you're targeting in each of them without clicking the edit settings. Okay, and then we click website as a location, maximize number of conversions, dataset, choose your website as the dataset. I name them after the websites that I'm dealing with as well, so that way you can have multiple datasets for different pieces if you want to split out or train your pixel on one particular property as an example. Select the conversion event. No dynamic creative here, let's just keep it easy. Budget scheduling, I'm not going to use in this case, but you might want to use it if you have multiple ad sets and you want to make sure that they get tested. So what I mean is you might edit it so that each ad campaign gets $5 a day as an example. Audience controls, I'm going to change, remove this and put on United States. Remove Estonia, show more options, minimum age 18, all languages. Cool. So that's looking good. About Advantage Plus campaign versus original target options. So original target options is cool because you can target gender, and you can't do that with Advantage Plus audience. But I use Advantage Plus audience because I have a theory that a lot of the old interest targeting or audience targeting that you used to be able to do, which were a bit more private, I suppose you could say, the ones that Facebook got in trouble for, basically. My theory is that they're still there, but they're no longer selectable. So if you use Advantage Plus, you're basically allowing Facebook to use and use those data points to inform the targeting. But if you use original audience options, you make it too restricted because you can't select those things and you're not giving Facebook the permission to target based on those things. So that's why I use Advantage Plus audience, but it's up to you. Again, account structures are quite political, so it's up to you. The last thing here I've got is placements. So using Advantage Plus placements, I switch between really focusing on which placements to use and which and letting it go with Advantage Plus. Sometimes when I want to keep things simple, I just use Advantage Plus. And the theory I have here is one, they typically don't like waste a lot of budget, say more than 5% as an example, targeting people in weird placements that are never going to convert. But two, my thought around Advantage Plus placements is I have a theory that they use some of those placements that aren't converting, for example, the right-hand rail of the Facebook desktop, in order to collect more information about users. As an example, so say you run this webinar and someone sees the ad for it in the right-hand rail. It could be retargeting that Facebook's doing on your behalf without you asking for it in a really cheap way. Or it could also be Facebook's testing a huge amount of people really quickly, very cheaply, using the right-hand rail to see who mouses over it, and then they go and serve them on the main feed later in order to convert them. But if you basically make it so you can only target people using the main feed on Facebook and Instagram, you've so tightly wound it that they can't do that experimentation or retargeting on your behalf. So that's why I leave it as Advantage Plus placements as well. Cool, let's go into the ad. So when it comes to doing the ad, I often put IMG at the front if it's an image, and then I put A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc., depending on the variant of the ad format. So for example, if you have before versus after as one ad, and then you have like a headline driven ad as the other, I might name the first one A and the next one B. If I do a variant of that first A, I'll just call it A2, and same with B, B2, B3, etc. Scrolling down here, what else do we have here? I turn off multi-advertiser, so I don't tend to use multi-advertiser unless it's for e-commerce, and again, I'm not an e-commerce guy, so feel free to ignore that. Going down here, so you're going to put your landing page URL in here, and then I do not use browser add-ons. I haven't experimented with this, to be honest, so I can't advise you one way or the other. My theory, though, is that it adds a variable into the equation about your ad success that you then have to test for. So I'd rather remove it and limit the number of variables so I can have a really close control over what's driving the performance versus just adding it in there for kind of no reason. Cool. So when it comes to setting up the ad, let's go ahead and set up an image ad. A lot of the time you have to click these off one by one, but I found a top tip is if you actually edit the source and remove it, it's going to carry on with none of that crap, which is great. So primary text, let's put in, and okay. So we put that demo text in there. So let's go ahead and choose a creative to run with. So I usually switch this enable flexible media to deliver sections across placements when it's likely to improve performance. I turn this off because I find that I suspect that the cropping is not very good. So for example, you're going to end up with this rather than this. So I tend to switch these all as original as well, unless I have a specific creative for the vertical format or the horizontal format that I've also designed that I can use. But otherwise I just keep them square. Cool, and I skipped this. This will be cool later, but not for now. Okay, Advantage Plus creative enhancements. So this is again sort of a controversial feature. I think they're actually kind of cool, some of them. So obvious ones you can get rid of is 3D animation. Let me move my head out of the way. 3D animation, always turn that off. Visual touch-ups as well. I find that these, like, as you can see, they kind of screw with the image itself, so that doesn't make any sense. Text improvements I turn off as well. Sometimes they have like highlight comments. Definitely turn that off, because as you probably know, when you run ads, sometimes you get really nasty comments and then they become highlighted comments, which just ruins the ad. Music you always keep on, and if you look here, I don't know what like your music understanding is, but a lot of this is like cool music, but it's like commercial music and you don't have to pay the license fee to use it. And music is a huge variable of improving the ad performance. So turning that on lets them experiment with different songs that can improve the performance of your ad. And if they find a hit one that's trending right now, all of these are trending musics on the platforms that can really boost your performance. This is one that people don't often talk about or like, is overlays. But I actually think they're really cool. They don't show you it now, obviously, because I'm trying to do a demonstration. But basically what it does is on the ad itself, it will add a little bit more of stuff at the top or at the bottom, and it tends to be blended with the background color of your creative. And then they will stick either the headline or the description in there, and it will basically help a square creative to become a vertical 9x16 creative. So it'll actually give you the benefit of the 9x16 placements, a more native style 9x16 placement when you turn that on. So I tend to leave that on actually, which is very cool. Cool. Some things you might want to think about is sometimes these actual suggestions are pretty cool. I wouldn't start with them obviously, but if you do want to add another another copy to your ad for testing, this is really interesting because I have a feeling it's trained on Facebook's internal data of all the different copy that's being added to Facebook by other people. So that's something to keep in mind. Call to action, I pretty much always keep it on learn more. My theory here is I've tested both learn more, sign up, watch more, all this kind of stuff. The more obscure the CTA I find here, my assumption is what's going on is people feel like it's more of a hard sell. So you get less people clicking, which means because they feel like, oh, I'm definitely signing up or I'm definitely going to watch more. So you get less people clicking, which gives less data, which makes it harder to get momentum and understand who's a good fit for your ad. So I tend to leave that learn more, and then I'll experiment later on to see if a different CTA will perform better. Tracking, definitely make sure that your data set is selected here, and then if you want, you can put the URL parameters in there if you're using Google Analytics, for example, to test your campaign. And that's it. That's the breakdown of how to set it up on Ads Manager. So the next thing to cover is email follow-ups. These are absolutely essential. This is not an email marketing channel, but I'm sure you can all guess how important it is. If you don't do this, your show rate on the webinar itself, instead of being, for example, 25 to 40%, it might be 5%. So email follow-ups are extremely crucial. Which ones to send? So there's a balance to be made here between more or less. I find the 80-20 is probably going to be a confirmation, a 3-day before reminder, the same day reminder, and starting now. I would find these to be the minimum. And if you didn't even want to do those, at least do the confirmation starting now. The 3-day reminder and the same day reminder are optional, but there's definitely a happy medium there where you choose more or less, but I find that these are the minimum. Which email marketing tool to use? So obviously they're all fine and they can do the job. I find Système with an E, the French platform, is a really cool platform for creators running webinars and doing email marketing, so definitely check them out, and the price is really cool right now. MailChimp, obviously very easy to use for SMEs, but can get really expensive really quickly. ActiveCampaign, Defo for power users, so if you're one of those, check it out. HubSpot, just expensive, but cool, but just expensive, and they lock you into contracts, so I might avoid that one. And that's it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you next time.